Hallo, alle miteinander. Das Licht ist so, dass ich Sie nicht sehe, aber umso herzlicher begrüße ich Sie alle hier. Der Abend wird in englischer Sprache sein, wie angekündigt. Therefore I now switch to English. Thanks to all of you. Being here, it's the first of a long series, 25 events roughly, over the next 8 months or so. What you will witness today is one of the examples of experimenting with theatrical forms or dramatical forms at the theatre, and it turned out much more complicated than I imagined. Tonight will happen the following way. There's 2 parts, roughly like 55 minutes each, and Paul will lead us through the first part of the evening. Then there will be a very short 5 minutes break, and afterwards a short discussion about like several topics: the current political situation in general, then national and international specificities about cultural politics with regards to art and theatre. And then we will obviously also decide about like more specific regional issues that have been highly discussed, like the polemic ways to talk about the 2 AfDs, the one with 13%, and then the alternative for Durken that has 0.0013%. I thought I'd make this joke to test the waters, but it's just Paul laughing. So we'll see how the evening goes. Without any further ado, I ask Paul whether he comes again. Now, please come on stage.
Thank you, Armen. No, it's me and a presentation. Let me just call up the first one. Welcome to the board game Culture in the Era of Global System Failure, designed by me and Sam Williams, my collaborator. The night, as Armen says, is going to have 2 parts. We're going to play the game together, then a short break, and then a discussion between me, Sam, and Armen, and involving you. The aim is to simulate the failure of a global system. And in the game, each table is a country, and you are the decision makers of the country. Each country has an identity. Maybe you could hold up your one. It's just a fluffy animal. There are small, medium, and large countries, okay, as well. Now, the country exists in a world of rising stress. And here are some of the examples of the kind of stress we could expect. Social stress, demographic change, elderly or migration, climate change, or cultural warfare, such as the one we're seeing in Turkey or in the United States. It's now 2018. I've rolled my dice. 6. You roll your dice, please. And now take a minute to decide what you're going to do. We'll pause there for a minute because something even more interesting is about to happen. For a short discussion. Does anybody want to react to what's just happened? What do you?
We are, for the moment, we are bank bail-ins and communist left, and we had a very interesting choice to make when we moved on to the next one. You know, we couldn't choose for fascism, so we had to go to communist left.
Yeah.
But I think now we are really in a very bad situation. Bank bail-ins plus a communist left. They're going to hate us, all the pensioners.
Yeah. So again, the Cyprus situation.
Well, you could say we're poor.
Yeah.
We haven't got any money.
But you're happy.
But we're poor, but with solidarity.
Yeah. So again,
we're still democratic.
I won't ask you, Chris, but anybody else on the table, what would it feel like to be an artistic creator in that country?
Communist and democracy. I don't know.
Cyprus had a communist government elected by democracy for 2 years.
Cyprus.
Yeah. Of course, it was overrun by the intelligence agencies and crooks and mafias of the entire world. So you might see a lot of portable things coming through the entry points, like paintings or fine wine or gold, because that's what people like that need. It might boost the art market. Who knows? Let's call...
It might boost the art market, but the combination of having absolutely no money and communist solidarity is a situation which could be also good for a political art movement, for agitprop.
It sounds like poor. It sounds like poor but sexy.
What about you, Goldfish? Where are you?
Cancel that center-right parliamentary democracy. So.
Okay. Would that change the art and cultural world of the country you're living in, do you think?
Probably depends on the other countries, how they deal with the debts, right? Like
Yeah. So you've written off your debts, so you can't borrow on the international market. So the government that's maybe owns some beautiful, Parthenon marbles, has beautiful state-funded archaeological sites and art galleries, probably they're closed. Yeah. Just while we're at it, because that reminds me, let's look at this highly stable, large country, Bearland. Yeah. What do you think might be happening in your country as, I'll just use an English technical term, as the world goes to shit around you?
Obviously, we are Germany, aren't we?
I didn't say that. Did I say that? What does it feel like to be an artistic creator in your country? Everything's fine and boring, but the world around you is not. Are your theatres full of stories of this?
But that inspires our artists, I guess.
Do you send artists to the refugee crises to take photography or maybe help? Do you do that? Yeah. Okay, interesting question. Let's call a time out and we'll come back and we'll discuss the art side. Thank you.
But I wanted to want you to explore a bit the question of why theatre? I mean, you gave some very pragmatic answers so far. I think you, Paul, said, well, the BBC had to deal with everything I wanted to say because it was on stage. But is that really all? That the theatre has a bit more freedom than for example, the television. I just came back from China, where it's the opposite. The TV is much more free, astonishingly, than theatre and cinema, for example. So I'm not sure whether it's the genre or the medium itself. So that's a bit my question, together with why theatre, why using this dramatic theatrical means. And I think the first part of the evening was really impressive, exactly in the sense of, well, certain things cannot be transmitted just by reading a text.
Yeah. Well, look, here's where I think, if we imagine the worst case scenario, if not worse, a really bad scenario of breakup in the world, fragmentation, rule of law is abandoned. Art, contemporary art, international contemporary art, I think probably can survive it quite a long time, as long as it stays out of the fight. Theatre can't survive it, even by producing Shakespeare, because in it, somebody is going to impute the idea that Shakespeare is Donald Trump and you just killed him. So theatre is a very, as you know, hopefully some people in here are theatre makers, a very connected and vibrant and controversial medium, even in a normal period. Now, we operate as a kind of, I'm not even really a professional theatre maker. I made 2 plays this year just because I wanted to experiment with the theatre.
I thought it would be interesting to really move to the German discussion.
Yeah, go. Let's do it.
Because
let's go.
We only have 15 minutes left, and I want to have some more questions from the audience, because it for me was a bit striking the analysis to move towards away from the word to the body. So it's impossible not to think about the debates around the Volksbühne. So both this assessment, but also the kind of what I call the geopolitical analysis that you gave before, related to the art world and the theatre, following a different logic with regards to the political change or the scenarios that you presented. What's your assessment there? Can they be analysed with these tools that you presented?
I'd just say that I don't agree with Paul about the moving to the body thing. I think that's already happened, and I think the next stage is integrating text, body, sound, not in a sort of Wagnerian way. I'll leave that there.
Well, no, the title of this theatre is Volksbühne. And the interesting question, what I would throw out is this: who are the people? You know, you've already taken, for example, an initiative to build a theatre, or you know, in Tempelhof. Okay, that's a good idea. Okay, I'm all in favour of all good ideas should be funded. But the problem we're discussing right now in British cultural life, which you can only really speak to, I think that you will understand its resonance, is who are our people? There's lots of plays about depicting right-wing populist, plebeian, racists and xenophobes, but they're always depicted negatively. If you're going to let Syrian refugees do Aeschylus, do a performance of Aeschylus on stage, do you then let AfD supporters from Thuringia do a play? Good idea. What are they going to produce? Literally, what are they going to produce? To me, that foreshadows everything, and therefore, it's the idea that, you know, I think that is a Weil wrote the music, and it is quite a Brechtian work. It is about being in your face, about being there in the exactly at the, you know, if you cut yourself, where's the painful bit? You've got to be at the painful bit of where you've cut yourself. In the wound, to be Wagnerian. In the wound, you have to be, and theatre can be it, and then, of course, contemporary performance art can be it, and it can even be literally painful. But that's what attracts me to that medium.
Sorry, no, I was just looking up Gail Kaiser.
Yeah. All right.
Chris, how's the money situation? Because I think Paul wants to stage the play next year, if I'm right. But Manuel, you
Yes,
have a question?
it comes a little back to your last sentences. I mean, this evening has the title Armen Avanessian and Enemies. So what is actually the position of the enemy here, and what is like the term enemy in a theatre, or what could violence be?
Were you thinking of Hannah Müller when you created this title?
I mean,
You know
there's many answers to that. There's the PR answer, there's the Austrian answer, the film answer, the Deleuze answer, the Volksbühne answer, which one?
I want the PR answer first.
That is it, because you're asking. It's a good title, no?
The Austrian answer?
Best novel of the 21st century, Men Without Qualities, has the wrong title. It's Qualities Without Men.
What's that got to do with enemies?
Enemy. I'm a very polite person, and this is a place where usually, but that triggers it, that moves into the Volksbühne answer, which is, for me, there's a place that always thrives on enmity, right? There always needs to be an enemy and an ideology that fights, you know. And if it's not there, it's like coming from outside. So I'm interested in this kind of necessity, this biological necessity of this place of having fights or enemies.
First of all, Delta Airlines, major banks, major telecoms companies pulled their money from the theatre simply for staging Julius Caesar with Trump as Julius Caesar first, and then people in the Midwest of America started to write to theatres that were producing Shakespeare saying, we don't like this Shakespeare because he killed our president. You laugh, but it's coming because it is there. 89 members of the German Parliament are pretty similar in their view, I would argue, of culture. So what are you going to do about it? Armen.
Thank you for listening. Thank you.